The shopping center's on fire. I was like, okay, sure. She's like, no, really. I'm like, okay. And she's like, all right, let me FaceTime you. Beep, 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 whatever. I answered the FaceTime. Sure enough, she's like, look, yep, building's on fire. The second car incident, I almost got caught behind one of the counters. The car drove through and shifted the showcases, and I was standing right by the register, and it moved me, and I just got out of the way literally at the last second. Let's do raspberry buttercream inside a Bell. You'll have the chocolate, you'll have the raspberry buttercream, and then maybe we'll do caramel buttercream.
Welcome. I'm here with a very, very special guest, someone who I've known for a few years, love. His name is Adam Steinberg. Adam, welcome to the Jewish Link Pitch Podcast. We are really happy to have you. Adam, you are the proprietor, owner of Zadies Bake Shop.
I do have a couple partners. My brother, my stepmom, so we're all. It's definitely a family affair.
But you're a fan. But for me, you've been the face of the business.
I guess you could say the face.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I've enjoyed coming over the years. We've come before Purim. We did Hamantash and tastings. I'll never forget those, and hopefully we'll come back. I think we also came for Hanukkah one year.
We did.
But
we did all those donuts.
We did. Oh, the donuts. Great. Yes, of course. The donuts. Crazy donuts. Correct. We love that, and we're going to continue to do that. But
I would love to have you for every holiday.
Whew. Okay, I don't know if my stomach would.
There's also a lot. Not Pesach, though, hopefully.
But the truth is, really, you're here at a very special time. You're here right before a grand reopening. Take me back to, I guess, July of 2020, or summer of 2024. Yeah. Tell us, not everyone here knows. I mean, I know, but tell them what happened that summer, and then I want to hear about Adam, but I want to hear about what happened that summer.
So I got woken up at, I think it was like 3:15 in the morning. Of course, I didn't hear my phone. My wife did and gave me a nice swift elbow. And, of course, I woke up all startled, and they said, Ann, my stepmom, called you like 3 times. I think maybe my brother called me. My dad called me. I got like a bunch of missed calls. So I called him back. And I said, I called Ann back, and I said, what happened? She's like, the shopping center's on fire. Wow. I was like, okay, sure. She's like, no, really. I'm like, okay. And she's like, all right, let me FaceTime you. Beep, 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 whatever. I answered the FaceTime. Sure enough, she's like, look, yep, building's on fire. And I'm talking legit on fire. It was like wild. I was like, oh my God. I got up, got dressed. I got down there probably about like 3:30, and it was like crazy. I mean, the whole thing wasn't obviously on fire in the beginning. It started off on the left side above the sushi restaurant. And the thing with the shopping center is that it was an old shopping center. So the ceiling was pitched. So there was, lots of air and probably wires and insulation in there. So once the fire hit the roof, it just cascaded right across. So our store wasn't actually on fire, but the roof caved in, which is we had a lot of damage in that regard. So it was very like, wow,
So you were just standing there that day watching. Yeah, you were watching your store burn.
Yeah, we were standing across the street and just watching. It was like nuts. I mean, as I'm sure many of your readers know, we've had some crazy things. We've had 2 separate incidents where the car drove through the store. We had to pivot, in that regard. We were out for, 6 months one time and maybe 4 months or something like that the other time.
We covered both of those. I think we covered both of those. Yeah. I still don't understand how that happened, but it happened.
I couldn't even tell you the way the parking lot is situated. I wish I still knew, but and believe it or not, actually, the second car incident, I almost got caught behind one of the counters. The car drove through and shifted the showcases, and I was standing right by the register, and it moved me, and I just got out of the way literally at the last second. Not to get too much into this, but it's a funny story. I remember calling my wife, like almost right after it happened. I said, honey, I almost died. I'm okay. But I'm good, but I got to go. And I hung up, right? So literally 15, 20 minutes later, she drove down to the store and punched me right in the arm. She said, don't you ever do that again. I was like, right, but that was, we've had a lot of things happen, but we've come back like bigger and better and stronger every time. And somebody told me once that you are an extremely resilient family. And I think it's it's very true. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that happened, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes and stuff like that. I mean, this last thing with the fire was obviously like, you can't, close for 6 months and whatever. So, we had to relocate and do
So
all
what
that.
do you? So I want to hear about that. But what are you thinking? Like as you're watching the fire, watching your business of just going up literally in flames. What's going through your mind?
I mean, you're almost kind of just blank. It wasn't a blur per se, because I distinctly remember standing across the street, and then as the sun's coming up, and it was a 3-alarm fire, so they had, I think, maybe Patterson and River Edge, or there were like 3 fire. It was a very big fire. Thank God, by the way, the fire didn't reach the cleaners at the end, because it would have been a major disaster. But
Because of all the chemicals.
There's a residential building behind it and all that. But honestly, Hashem saved everybody that day by a lot. Like, we had our bread crew working that night, and my bread baker, my head guy, called the fire department and the police department, told them the fire was going on. Then they sent everybody down. What if they weren't working that night? Like, it could have been such a major disaster. But whatever. The firemen were great. The police were great. Fairlawn was great, but it was just such a weird time. I don't even remember what I was thinking at the time. I wasn't like, oh man, how are we going to do this? I think that was more of the next day where I kind of started to process that. I was just almost like, wow, this is crazy. Like, I remember sitting Indian style on the floor with all my workers that were showing up slowly for work. I mean, we called a bunch of people, but it was very just odd. Feels like it was like 8 years ago.
Yeah,
honestly. Yeah.
And what was your thought? And I think you probably thought like, hey, your thought was you wanted to just reopen right away. What was your initial thought? Like, just what was the plan? The plan was to open a year in 6 months. Find a temp location.
I think your first thought is how are we going to manage this? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? And a lot of people will tell you in life, you never burn your bridges, right? It's always good to keep contacts, keep relationships open, no matter how maybe bad you have, something goes with previous work or whatever the case may be. It's always good to keep a relationship. And, my father's been in this industry for a very long time. He's done a lot of things, and he has friends. We had a lot of people reach out to us, a lot. We had Oberlander reach out to us. We had Krustic. We had a few other places.
Other kosher bakeries saying, hey, what were they saying?
If you need anything, let us know. We're glad to give you. Honestly, the outreach was unbelievable. It was so nice. We ended up finding a facility in Long Island that we were able to kind of go in. We brought our workers in. We had space. We were able to work and do what we needed to do there probably within a week.
Were you also working there? Were you going to
I was not working there at the time because I wasn't necessarily involved. Not necessarily. I'm not really involved in the baking and the hands-on baking. My brother was doing a lot of that. And, he had a few other workers that would kind of, pan out mixes or, scoop cupcakes or muffins or whatever the case may be, some stuff like that. They ended up going there, and had a few of my bread bakers go there as well. And I couldn't bring everybody there, so I brought who I could and how I could kind of function. Obviously, we, couldn't hold up the retail, so that unfortunately had to go. But as we, started the wholesale up again,
you did it very quickly. I remember people couldn't believe how quickly.
I think we were out for a week.
Wow,
which was insane.
Unbelievable.
But that it doesn't go without its challenges, right? Like, oh wow, you found this space. Okay, now you have to bring in ingredients. You have to, start new procedures and work around somebody else's schedule in a sense, in terms of using ovens and stuff like that. So, the whole process of it was incredibly difficult. And, I'm sure everybody noticed in the beginning when we started up, things were not, cohesive, and just things were a work in progress. And I tried to do the best we could in terms of, putting out on social media, just being honest with the public, and just telling them.
I remember, yeah,
kind of, what we were going through. I mean, I didn't keep a diary. Obviously, I wasn't, like that, but I was just trying to be as honest and open. And, the public was very responsive with that. And, it was a huge challenge, but I was very, proud and happy that we could kind of get back to that level of holding the accounts and that whole thing. Because, you what if you can't, and also you have to figure out new routes, you have to get new drivers, and not everybody wants to schlep to Long Island, to pick up stuff and bring it. So it was like to kind of get back within a week or so. Was extremely challenging.
Well,
so
tell me a little about. I want to get to where you are today, but just tell me a little about Adam Steinberg. How long where you grew up, how you got into Zadies, how long you been. Just Zadies in many ways is like a legendary institution for the kosher Bergen community. So just tell us a little bit about Zadies and yourself.
Well, Moshe, I'm a simple man. No, I'm just kidding. So I grew up conservative. Parents got divorced at an early age.
Grew up where? Where are you from?
I grew up in Merrick, Long Island. I grew up conservative. My parents got divorced early. My father, I would live with my mother in Long Island, and my dad was, I don't know, he was in Arizona for a couple different stints, and out here in Long Island. And then I went to college at the Ohio State University. I wanted to be go Bucks. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be a world history teacher. I majored in World War II.
Didn't know that.
I did that. I did the typical college. I went to the local Hillel on Fridays just to appease my father, get a free meal. I didn't really want to go, to be honest with you. And I did that. I graduated. I moved back home. I really actually wanted to live in Columbus. I loved it there. Columbus was awesome. It was such a nice. Everybody in the Midwest is super nice. You've been to Midwest?
Columbus, sure.
It's different out there. It's slower. It's just nicer.
My dad's from Cincinnati, and so I know the town.
I drove through Cincinnati. I never actually went there. I've been to Cleveland for like a day, so I really kind of just like stayed there. But
Columbus has a smaller feel,
right? And the downtown is super populous, and Columbus was growing like crazy. But I had an amazing time there. Came home, did a few odd jobs. My sister was working at a law firm. I worked as a paralegal for a while. I was like, should I go to law school? Should I not? I didn't want to. Ultimately, I didn't want to do it. It was like a ton of schoolwork. Now I didn't mind it, but like it was a lot. It was a lot. I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't want to make the financial commitment.
What happened to the dream? What happened to being a teacher?
I kind of wasn't really sure. Like, because my senior year, I did, you go to a school and you do like the teaching there for your teacher's assistant for like 5 hours. It was great, but it wasn't like, I didn't feel like this is where I want to be. So it was nice as like, I can watch the History Channel at night for 2 hours and get the same amount of pleasure. Maybe I don't have to turn this into a career. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car or whatever. And I guess the whole, I've always, like, even when I went to college, I kind of blossomed a bit. In high school, I was more of like, I was to myself. And, like once I hit college, I kind of branched out and then started to become more talkative, and I can carry a conversation with anybody. So I think that's kind of in the blood. Or the Steinbergs kind of know how to talk, and we're pretty good at sales and stuff like that. So I think
I see that
came about.
But the truth is, I thought you grew up in a food family. So I thought
my father has been. I mean, I'm third or fourth generation in the baking industry.
That's
so
what I thought.
My dad was in the baking industry for 40 years, and my Zadie, who we named the bakery
But
after.
he didn't want you to go into the baking.
No, it's too hard. It's very labor intensive. It's long hours.
Yeah. Give me a sense of how long those hours are. When are you up by? Before dawn?
Yeah, I mean, I'll get up on a regular day. I'll get up my alarm will go off at 4:30. My wife will elbow me for about 20 minutes until I get up. I'll get up at like 4:50. I'll be out of the house by 5. I'll get to the shop by 10 after 15 after, and then we open at 6, or could be 7 now, depending on what the hours fall out. But get in, and usually I don't leave till at least 5:30 on a regular day. So it's at least 12, 14, 15 hours. And then on the holidays, I probably don't leave till 9 o'clock, 9:30.
I believe that. Yeah.
It's long hours on your feet, but, like being in the food industry, you get like this feeling of just satisfaction when people try your product and they like it. You just like get that rush. You're like, oh man. And then you could talk about it for an hour. That's how you really know that that's what you're made for. Or that's, I guess it kind of appeals to any industry, really, right? If you can talk about something for 45 minutes unfiltered for whatever,
with passion, yeah.
That's kind of what you're meant to do. And I think I kind of just, like, it's in the blood almost. Like, I kind of just fell into it. So, like I said, I did a few odd jobs after college for a few years. And then, how old was I? 28, maybe? My stepmom sat me down one day and was like, listen, we want you to come into the business. I'm like, I really don't want to do it. Like, I really don't want to. Plus, like, just being completely frank, I really didn't want to become, like, Orthodox. Like, I was okay doing the conservative, go to shul on the holidays every now and again, eating on kosher. I was totally cool with that, right? And then my dad was like, listen, try it for 6 months. Come out, try it for 6 months. If you don't like it, you can go back to what you were doing. So in the beginning, I would go home to Long Island on one weekend, and then I would stay in New Jersey at my brother's house in the beginning, maybe at my dad's house one weekend. Next weekend, I would go back to Long Island. So I was playing this like double life, right? And then, I think my father ended up giving me an ultimatum at one point. He was like, listen, you've been doing this for X amount of months already. Like, you need to make a decision. Like, what are you doing? Are you going to go this way? Or are you going that way? Because, again, how long can you keep that up?
Well, hold on. But what does baking have to do with being in the Orthodox community?
I'll explain it to you. I know.
I've actually never heard anyone say that.
I'm going off on a whole tangent here, but this is you asked for my background. It's very important.
I'm fascinated.
No, because it's very important. My father was the same way. We never started religious. Became a Baal Tshuva at some point. Like when he first owned Zamex all those years ago, he wasn't like religious in the beginning, and then a rabbi pretty much told him, you cannot be an owner of a kosher business and not be kosher. So whatever, he ended up becoming that. My older brother, same thing. He grew up conservative, whatever, did whatever he had to do in his life, came back, came into the business, became modern Orthodox. And the same thing with me. My whole family is modern Orthodox. We're all Baal Tshuvas. So it's important to know where you came from, and it impacts where you are now. You know what I mean? So it almost, you constantly search for the non-kosher standard or maybe a flavor profile, and you try and turn it kosher, because a lot of times in the kosher food industry, not just baking, a lot of times in the restaurant industry, the quality is never as good, and you're paying double the price. So, the way you grow up, it impacts what you are. So I take that to heart when I try and run my business, like Zadies, for instance. And I guess this kind of ties it all in. Mm-hmm. We're super busy on Christmas. We're super busy on Easter, on these other non-Jewish holidays. So just because
not people buying challah, I'm guessing people buying other
they call it challah because they can't pronounce the but
got it.
But it's like you want to appeal to everybody, and for me specifically, I feel like I kind of came from that side. I mean, obviously I was Jewish, but I wasn't modern Orthodox. I wasn't living that life. You want to appeal to everybody, so when you deal with non-kosher people, they kind of look at things through a different angle. Why am I going to spend the extra money to buy kosher? But if you eat something and it's good and it tastes good, who cares that it's kosher? What does it matter?
Yeah, I was always under the impression is that like certain types of buttercream, certain things that are really hard to find kosher, that bakers like feel that are there's certain things that we're never going to see in the kosher baking world, or there's certain tastes that. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
I've had real buttercream before with the butter in it. Mm-hmm. I actually don't like it. I'm so used to the parve buttercream at this rate. I don't like it. It's crazy. Like, how do you not like the real stuff? I just don't. It's so heavy with the butter, and I'm just not used to that flavor profile. Now, we use butter flavoring in various things that we make, which is obviously parve. Don't go crazy. But it's different than using real butter. If you have real chocolate chip cookies that have butter in it, they're really, really good. But I don't know. I don't see. Will we ever do that? Possibly, but I don't know. I mean, I guess the transition into the new store, we plan on having an expanded line, with the dairy. So
hold that thought. I want to hear about the expanded line. But your father sat you down, and we didn't finish that.
Yeah. So he sat me down. He gave me the ultimatum, and I obviously went towards this side, and it was the best thing I ever did.
And it was because great. Those few months, like you really enjoyed it. Obviously.
Yeah. I mean, listen. As you get older, the friends that you have from high school, and obviously I was away at college, so a lot of friends that I had at home either moved on or whatever, and I just like, what am I doing? I'm going out on Saturday, going to the bar, or whatever it is. It was like, I don't know. You're getting older. I didn't feel that desire to really do that anymore, and obviously I liked what I was doing at the bakery, so I'm like, I'll do this. And then I saw how much fun I was having on Shabbos. Like, this was the big thing for me, right? When I first started to come out, every weekend that I was out here and then I spent Shabbos, it was great. No phone, you play games, you do this, you do that.
With your brother, me and your brother's house, mostly.
Right, yeah. Exactly. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and it left Shabbos was great. That was the thing that really drew me in. So I started to do that, and then, a few years later, got introduced to my wife, and then, long story short.
So you ended up in Teaneck. Just give me the quick history of Zadies. So you were in the front in Zadies when you
right. So I wasn't there when we first opened. My brother and my father started it and brought my brother out there in 2005, July of 2005.
Because he saw that Fairlawn was like a happening area.
No, he I don't know where he was looking initially. I don't know if really like New Jersey popped off the map, because we've had bakeries in Oceanside. We had Steinberg Bake Shop. Like I said, my father used to own Zomix back in the 80s. My grandfather Zadie in the 70s. My dad in the 80s and early 90s. So he was familiar with Central Avenue and whatever, all that stuff. Then he went to Arizona for a few years, did something out there, came back, and then opened Steinberg's in Oceanside, closed that.
I remember that.
Went back out to Arizona, came back again. And when he came back, like, that was my dad's thing. He would open something, start it up, build it up into this amazing thing, and then he would just kind of get tired of it and then just sell it and like do nothing for a year, get tired, and do the whole cycle over. He did it like 3 times. So,
but in the last year or so, you kind of have maybe had that a little bit. You've not worked as hard the last. Well, you have worked as hard. I don't know.
Physically, no, but behind the scenes, I mean, I'm dealing with all the wholesale and logistics, and obviously looking for a new place. I mean, it wasn't just me, but it was physically, I was not working as hard. I probably gained like 15 pounds from sitting at home. It's actually kind of funny. I always wondered what. I'm used to working all these hours, going in early, doing the whole bakery life, right? Mm-hmm. And all my friends, lawyers, doctors, accountants, whatever it is, right? The typical Jewish job, right? So I always thought to myself, man, I wonder what it would be like to work from home. And then
you experienced it.
Yeah. And then, listen, I liked it in respect to, like, I saw my kids leave in the morning. I saw them at night. Now, granted, on a regular bakery schedule, I get home at 5:30. I would still have dinner. So I would miss them in the morning, which was fine. But I would see them twice a day now. And we just, it was really nice to see them. But, like, you sit home all the time and it's just like, what are you doing? I sit on the couch. I never watched so much TV in my life.
You also miss the interaction.
I did miss the interaction. I missed just being with people, being around people, sales and stuff like that. Just being in the front, watching people try things, bringing out samples, like that whole game. Towards the end of this, I did really miss it a lot. In the beginning, I was like, this is great. I'm working from home, whatever. I could do whatever I want. I have my own schedule, sort of. So that was that. So that was, that was pretty cool.
All right, let's talk. Okay, so you started. So you're here.
Oh yeah. So sorry. We started in 2005.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think I came in 2000. What are we in? 2026. I think I came in like 5 or 6 years after that. So I joined in after the fact, but you know,
it's amazing. So you really Zadies and Shabbos basically coming to Jersey for Zadies, working in the business, and Shabbos kind of brought you to where you live. You're in Teaneck.
Fairlawn needed a bakery. I mean, they had a bakery there. I honestly can't remember what the name of it was. I'm trying to remember, I can't really remember. But they were doing like so numbers, and obviously Teaneck had, Teaneck numbers, and I don't even know if Paramus was a thing, but he found the bakery. It was in Fairlawn. Now it's close to the train station over there. So I think the original premise of us choosing that specific location was because we figured
commuters,
right? Commuters, people come in. Literally never. I don't think we ever had barely any commuters. In the long run, it was like didn't make sense. People just went to Dunkin' Donuts. Is right there.
Yeah. You're very close. You were very close to the highway. You were just a jump off the highway.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. All right, so we're post now. I'm just move ahead. We're post the fire. You're looking to rebuild. Did you feel like you had to stay in Fairlawn? Did you think about elsewhere?
I mean, we could have went to probably Hackensack and Paramus, and then Teaneck. Obviously, we for sure could have went to, but Fairlawn, as they've always been super supportive. Always super supportive. The people there, they love us there. I mean,
even though a lot of people I know commute from Englewood and Teaneck to Zadies.
Correct, and they complain about it all the time. People, almost everyone I know, it's like, I have to drive to Fairlawn. It's like, relax. It's like 15 minutes away. You'll drive 12 minutes to go get a hamburger, but you can't get something else. Like whatever.
I'm actually happy to hear you say that, because I feel that way also.
The people that complain about driving to Fairlawn drives me up a wall. I mean, granted, and you know what the return argument is? Well, you drive there at 5 a.m. You don't hit any traffic. It's like, come on, it's really not that far. But again, that's why we wholesale. That's why we send our stuff all over the place. I even send stuff to Food Showcase in Fairlawn. It's down the road, but I do pretty good business there. People just don't want to wait online. They don't want to schlep, or they want to get it where they're shopping. So, when it comes to, Teaneck specifically or any other place, we had options for sure. But ultimately, I feel like Fairlawn has meant a lot for us. And I felt like we kind of owed it to them in a sense to return there
and stay in the town,
because Fairlawn is they don't have, and I'm not trying to sound offensive here, they don't have a ton of things there that people want to drive there for. I mean, there are things there now. It's becoming much bigger now. You see how many apartments and condos they're building there. It's blowing up like crazy. So eventually it will get there, but 20 years ago, 15 years ago, or whatever. I mean, I know we're just talking about it recently, but it's. I felt like it was just right to kind of go back there. So that's ultimately.
I have to agree with you. I think that was the right move.
But the promenade, by the way, was literally the last. The promenade we're at.
Hold on, so you're just jumping ahead. So you looked for a while. How long did it take you to find the current location? Tell me about the current location. So the new one.
Well, it took us probably, I think it probably took at least 6 months.
And you mentioned that you were originally thinking you would come back in the same space.
Yeah,
that was the
right. So we probably waited about 5-6 months to wait to hear back from the shopping center where we're at, and it was almost like crickets. They didn't know what they were doing, sitting on their hands for a while, and then I think we looked at a place in Hackensack. And then we looked at a spot in Fairlawn, but on Broadway, and it just nothing fit. The parking lot was too small here, and the building was too big here, or this had no basement, that had. So,
I'm glad you didn't go on Broadway, because.
But we were very close to going there, by the way. And my thought process, it's not that far. People just have to cross the bridge, but it's just not the same area. It's just different there, and it just didn't feel right. and the rent was also kind of too high, so we didn't go there. But and like you have to factor everything in. The rent could be too high here, but this could be really great. You factor in all the decisions. So we landed on the Promenade. Promenade is
so tell me where the Promenade is. I mean, I know where it is,
right.
but tell us where it is.
The Fairlawn Promenade is right off Route 208. There's an exit off of there, and then I believe right off Fairlawn Avenue, there's Pollitt Drive that you could take all the way around. So there's two ways to access it. We are sandwiched in between a restaurant called Bite and I think a waxing place, European wax.
I think there's a Verizon store.
There's a Verizon also on that side.
Right.
There's a lot of the Starbucks is in there. Who doesn't know about Starbucks? And there's a ton of non-kosher restaurants there.
What was there before? What was there?
Massage Envy.
You're taking over Massage Envy space,
correct?
And that was it's a big enough. It's adequate.
It's big enough for what I think we need. We're not doing all the wholesale out of there. We're going to continue to do the wholesale out of the facility. We're going to do all the retail out of this space here.
And retail baking, we're going to
do all the retail baking here. But one of the main draws was obviously how busy the shopping center was. I mean, it's like beautiful, it's modern, it's gorgeous, and that's one of the reasons why we.
If it makes you feel better, by the way, so I happen to know this the apartments near the shop that you have those buildings right now. So we deliver the Jewish Link to growing numbers of people in those buildings. Yeah. Okay, so if you ever we drop off in front of those apartments, and we've seen those numbers trend up in the last few years.
So I should expect not to miss my delivery.
You should expect not to miss your delivery. Absolutely, 100%. By the way, we've been missing your delivery. Yeah. So
we have a lot of people that tell me my mother lives in the building over there, and can't wait to now they could just walk over instead of driving there. So. But it's great. It's they're like opening any new business. There's a lot of hiccups. Mechanical problems and this and that, which we're currently running into. So we're hoping to open by this Sunday, and if not, it'll be a few days after that. But that's kind of why we haven't really put anything out that's like concrete yet, because I don't want to say and then not deliver. Yeah, right. It's been very abstract, and I apologize to everybody listening and watching and whatnot. But I don't want to promise something that we're not going to deliver. So when we know concrete wise, we've run into a few issues. An oven's not working properly all of a sudden, or this isn't working. So of course, it all has to happen now. And obviously with Pesach in between, it took a while for us to get permits. So everything kind of led up to like right before Pesach, and then we tried to get as much in as we could pre-Pesach. Then we had to just stop for the holiday, and now we're kind of going back in, and we want to open by a certain time. So that's kind of where we're at now. But we're super excited. We're getting phone calls and emails literally nonstop, and we just want to make everybody proud. But the one thing that I would love for people to kind of know and understand is, yes, this is the same name, but it's a whole new place. I have new workers in the front. So things like day one when we open, it's not going to be as smooth as if you came to us on a standard Wednesday or Thursday. Like there are logistical things that we need to work out in the beginning, which like any new business, you'll fix and you'll change and you'll have to do this. We should make this on this day to have extra this. So things are a little bit different. So I just hope that people will have patience and give us a chance, which is why, I'm kind of going to call it a soft opening in the beginning. And then the town of Fairlawn wants to do like an official ribbon cutting. I think it's for May 12th. I don't know what time yet. It could be morning, it could be afternoon. But obviously we'll release that information. We'll let everybody know. But I'm just asking for people to just be patient with us.
We'll try. We'll definitely help convey that message. Were you able to? I know we spoke before off camera. Were you able to keep any staff? Were you able to?
Yeah, we brought a lot of people back. Mm-hmm. Store manager is back. We got a few of my bread bakers to come back. Excuse me. The gentleman who did a lot of our bench work, meaning Meltaways, babkas,
looking forward to those,
and stuff like that, and bells. Obviously, everybody's hyping up, excited for the mini bell, the return of the mini bell.
You mentioned that the bells just they don't travel well, so or they're too sensitive.
Just with the heat, they're very sensitive. They're sensitive to the touch, and you don't want to.
I confess to having had probably a few too many bells in my life, not recently.
Well, you should know, by the way. I mean, this could be a big reveal now, but my plan is to, like, I literally had an epiphany one day. I'm like, why with the mini bells? Why did we only ever do white buttercream inside? Like, it's not complicated. Why
colors.
Why don't we make other flavors? It doesn't. And then I'm like a huge chocolate and raspberry person. I love the combo together, which we don't do enough of there. Which hopefully that'll change now. But I'm like, let's do raspberry buttercream inside a bell. You'll have the chocolate, you'll have the raspberry buttercream, and then maybe we'll do caramel buttercream. Awesome. Maybe we'll do an all chocolate bell. Like I want to have a line of like 5 different flavors, and I want it to like take off and be that next thing.
Well, that's really exciting.
I honestly, like, I have this vision in my head of it being like, I'm not talking about going viral, but like maybe within the Jewish community, I hope people will be like, wow, look at this, because nobody makes bells like we do. I don't even think anybody really makes it.
It's true.
But we make it, and I think we make it excellent. Not to toot my own horn, but I think it's great. I don't know if we'll make the big cake size one a different flavor, which we could, but I think the little ones, I think we're going to do that. I think that'll be a really cool thing.
So you mentioned you were talking about expanded lines. So is there anything else coming on board?
Eventually, again, this might not be day one. These are things that we're going to like. I think the dairy line, I would love to expand, just past Danishes like we had, and we had cheesecakes occasionally and stuff like that.
Is there demand by then? If in the code, I feel like dairy is like everyone wants parv. I feel like
they do, but I think it's something that we never offered before, and I feel like if we have it, I think it would be a great option. Like I guess kind of playing off of that, like one of the things that we were, planning on making and having is like we had it for Shavuos. We had like little cheese babkas, like little rolled up things with cheese inside. So I think we're gonna try and do like a little 6-pack or a 12-pack, so somebody doesn't have to buy such a big thing. We're gonna try and do like cheesecake slices as well as regular sized cheesecakes, and then just some other dairy items that we were playing around with that we never had before. But in the new store, we have like a takeout case, the open one, the refrigerator one.
Yeah, sure.
So we want to use that for dairy, right? And we'll have all takeout stuff there and just grab and go type of stuff there. So, that's kind of like where we want to expand with that. And then obviously said like the bells, and, I might start playing around with Lotus.
What about Dubai?
We're nut free, so I can't really do the pistachio.
Okay, I forgot about that.
Yeah, we're nut free and sesame free, by the way.
Nut
people
free
didn't know that or what.
And sesame free. Okay, so those are really things. Okay, got it. All right. So you're not touching those guys.
Right. We're just, by the way, I'm not trying to judge you or anything, but are you a raisin pumpernickel guy? You seem like, I don't know why.
I like raisin pumpernickel.
We used to make, when we first opened, we used to make like a walnut raisin pumpernickel.
Is that a bad thing, by the way?
No. I'm just saying. Yeah. Like you have like an old soul. You have an old soul.
I'm a raisin guy, by the way.
Right.
So.
And not many people are, by the way.
I know
people are, I'll eat it once a year and that's it. I like it all year.
I'm a fan.
But no, like we used to make a walnut raisin pumpernickel when we first opened, and people still ask about that. 20-something years later, do you still make that walnut bread? No, sorry, we don't do it anymore. So
you could always bring it back on occasion, though. So
I mean, if I open up a separate, maybe I'll call it Bubby's, and I'll have it just a nut baker, But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to say, really, Yasher Koach on and I'm really, first of all, Mazel Tov. I'm really excited for you. For the community, by the way, is excited for you. Jewish Link's excited for you. By the way, we will be back in the store. We have to find a spot. Is there a spot? We'll talk about that after.
I will find space for you.
Let's try to find a space.
The front of the store is probably 3 times, maybe 2.5 times the size of the front of the store last time. So people will see. I mean, I'm sure you can go to our Instagram page at Zadies Bake Shop. You could see I have a video on there of like I pan it out, and you could see the layout is huge. I wanted like a big flow. I was willing to sacrifice the back a little bit to increase the size of the front, because I feel like we have really good flow. We'll have an entrance door. You go, you look, you peruse, you buy, you check out,
and you don't want to feel like it's cramped or anything.
But I mean, listen, people are still probably gonna have to wait outside at some point. But like when you come in, the ceilings are super high, and it's just so much like more open now. It's like. So it's such the way the store came out, it's amazing. It's so gorgeous. You know, it's very modern compared to what we had before. You know,
First of all, the store before was not bad.
it wasn't bad.
But it was not modern. It did not have a modern
for
look.
sure.
So.
Well, yeah, we had after the second car drive-through, we had to pivot and modernize it a little bit, and then I opted to go for the pink and white stripes, like a ye old shop type of look, and that's kind of I was gonna do that in this store, and then we had a designer kind of do something up and sent us this email, and I opened it and I was like, holy cow, like this is nothing. I didn't expect it at all. And it was like, but something, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I was like, you know what? We should do this. Let's go this route instead. Because we are going to have, like, just to go back real quick on the expanded line, the decorator that I brought her, I have her friend coming as well. And they both do like really, really nice stuff. So on like the layer cake stuff, we plan on having like 4-inch layer cakes now. Like little, mousse cups and stuff like that. Like we're really gonna have a nice expanded like layer option.
Okay, 4 inch is not 7 layer. 4 inches different than 7 layer cake tradition. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
all right, I'm trying to think what other classics you guys have.
Yeah, we have
know what? In any case, we're gonna visit. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Super. I'm just gonna say first of all, thanks for coming, and also really looking forward to seeing you in the brand new store.
Yeah, thank you for you having me. Thank you for the whole crew. I mean, the Jewish Link has always been super supportive of us. I could always call you anytime and tell you what's going on. You'll always take my phone call. You're probably one of the nicest people I've ever met, especially when you have to deal with people all day long. Sometimes people are a little rough around the edges, but like I can be, but you've just been always super nice and accommodating and helpful, and I honestly can't thank you enough, so I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us on the Jewish Link Pitch Meeting podcast. If you would like to participate or be in touch with us in any way, please email us at editor@jewishlink.news and follow us and find our podcast wherever you find podcasts.